Excellent. Well, it looks like a lot of people have joined in now, so we will get going. Thank you for attending this Webinars Now event. It's an event we hold the first Thursday of every month, same time. I'm Greg Stuckey. I'm excited to be talking to you today about uncovering new insights in product research. And today we're going to be talking about easy add-ons, which are going to amplify your next CLT or home use test. Now, if you are new to GoToWebinar, there's a chat box, a question box on the right-hand side. And at the end of the webinar, we're going to be answering questions. So you're absolutely welcome to type in your questions as we get going. I can see them in real time if you're answering or asking them while the webinar is going. I'll try and incorporate answers or at that time, or I'll pick them up at the end of the webinar. All right, for those of you who don't know Insights Now very well, Insights Now has a core belief. If we change the way we look at humans and why products succeed, we believe we will improve the speed to and success in market of our innovation products. And we do this by taking a behavior-focused approach to research, because to be successful in innovation, you have to change or leverage your consumers' behaviors. So we apply this behavioral approach to brand positioning and planning, innovation, product development, and marketing and messaging. And today, we're going to be focusing on innovation related to product development research studies. And the goal is to show you a few ways that you can make your research more fun, more exciting, and get more insights. All right, so I have a poll to start the session with here. So I am going to launch this poll. Hopefully everybody can see the poll on their screen. I'm asking, what's the most exciting part of your product research projects? Is it the most exciting, the planning and designing? Is it the fielding part? Is it the analysis, or is it the reporting part? So which part's most exciting for you? And it looks like we're coming in here. We've got almost everybody in. Interestingly enough, okay, so it's an interesting group. We have about half the people, not quite, we got 40% saying planning and designing. We have 40% saying reporting and presenting, and 20% on insights and analysis. Oh, a few more people joining in, jumping in as we go. There's a few more people, latecomers, excellent, joining into the poll. So we actually have a third. So the one thing nobody likes, oh wait, one person likes fielding, yay. All right, so this is excellent. So this is good, a pretty good spread, but certainly a lot of planning, designing, a lot of reporting, presentation. I'm going to close that poll now. My favorite part of the research is actually the planning and designing part. If I had to force myself to pick just one part of the research, that's what I love the most, is the getting to know the products part of the research. And the reason this is fun, it's that moment when I show up at my house and my family sees that I've laid out a whole bunch of different products for a category on the kitchen table or on the counter. We know we're going to be having fun. And it's not the normal kind of fun of trying new things. It's the kind of fun where you say, really, what are the big differences here? Really, what do I have to be aware of? Really, what do I have to know? And it helps me get to know the space. So for instance, if I was looking at hot sauces, right, some products are a lot of fun. It's not just about the heat, right? It's about all the other components that go along with it, maybe the types of moments, the social settings, what it would be good for, how you would leverage that, what alternative choices you might have. So getting to understand your products at that beginning of the process helps me understand the scope. And sometimes you learn really fun and interesting things, like I'm the only one in my house that likes to drink kale juice. Don't know why. Everybody else, I think, spit it out very quickly, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. So you always learn something new. You always learn something fun. And what I want to do is add that fun to the research that we do day in and day out. You know, we didn't have a lot of people say that the fielding part of the research was most fun or most exciting, and I think I hear that a lot. Very few people really like the field work, like if they had to rank order it, that's at the bottom, and that was on our list the least selected one. But I've got 3 little add-ons that I think will help you make that fielding part a lot more fun. So these 3 add-ons, the first is leveraging consumer emotions. The second is going to be targeting targeted interviewing techniques, so doing very highly targeted interviewing. And then the third is going to be utilizing videos and pictures within the research as well. So the first one is emotions. Now, emotions, especially in blind CLTs, right, are really quite difficult because honestly, if you ask somebody how they feel about a snack bar wrapped in a plain white wrapper with a 3-digit code sticker on it, it's really hard to get past the feeling of, that's boring, right? So if we then follow that up with, hey, what do you like about this product and what do you dislike about this product, what do we normally get? We normally get information parroted back, answers about the types of attributes we were already asking about in the questionnaire anyway. So you tend not to get very deep. You tend not to get very emotional responses when you ask these types of questions. So there's just not much depth there. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I even fall asleep trying to read those likes and dislike questions. So how do we improve this, right? The answer is to bring those products to life by tapping into a person's memories, right? And this is taking a page from classic psychology, using metaphors to identify the emotions from memories, and then identifying the product cues which trigger those memories and emotions. All right, so how do we do this? Very simple add-on to your research. Step 1 is to relate their experience to a colorful and contextual image. So this plain white wrapped product, once they've opened it up and they've had a chance to taste it, then they can select an image that best captures their overall thoughts and feelings about the product. And the images that you want to have them select from are images that are all metaphor based. So we would include no food products in here, no products of different ingredients that would be a part of this particular product, et cetera, so forth. Okay, so we have curated a nice set that covers the entire design space that we use at Insights Now. And once they pick that image, then we ask them to describe, why does this image capture your thoughts and feelings about this product? And you'll see if they're very positive about the product, they're going to have answers like on the left-hand side. This picture is like the flavors on the inside. They're just bursting out. They're really strong, bright. You can't help but notice it. If the image, if their emotional reaction to the product is a little bit more negative or even have mixed emotions about the product, they might be more like the rope on the left-hand side. Well, the rope is natural fiber ropes. That's possibly a good thing for them, right? Natural can be good. It makes your hands all itchy when you use it. That obviously is more of a negative. The bar is like that, natural, but scratchy feeling in your mouth, right? So if you understand how they feel about a image that they're relating to the product, you're going to get much more deep into the memories that are tied to those emotions about the products. And that's a big difference than open-end likes and dislikes. Okay, now we follow up that particular question, the image selection and explanation, with asking them to dive a little deeper to describe the image itself. So we're going from their feelings to having them connect that the cues of the product to those emotions. So this will now get them to connect those dots. And for some images, they may have already talked about some cues. For instance, the rope, we already heard that it was rough and scratchy and itchy. But other images, there's more depth there that they just didn't get to in that first question. So asking this follow-up question, you're going to get to new elements. For instance, here with the painted wall, right? It's bright red and blue. I see the bright red color, which is like the fruit filling. That's kind of a lead-on from that first one. But then the bumpiness of the bricks are like the pieces of fruit inside. Now all of a sudden you have another cue, a texture cue that you know is signaling the reaction to that particular product and how they feel about the product. Okay. Now we come to the final part. They've told their story, they've got that memory, they've got the metaphor working for them. Now we bring the emotions question in. And we like to use a check all that apply question here, although you could use a lot of types of emotions questions. You could use a scale question. You could use other implicit techniques if you would like. But in this case, we've been using check all that apply, and we find that to be working really well. And it's at this point then, now they've told their whole story, those emotions are on the tip of their tongue, those feelings are eminent within them, so that they can easily check off how they feel that this image made them feel. And this is a way easier task for them than trying to do the same check all that apply against the plain white wrapped 3-digit code product, right? So they're getting those feelings of the entire experience and memory associated with the imagery and their associated story as well. So what does this do? Taking this simple add-on approach, it gets you well beyond liking. So recent research here, we had 4 prototypes. 2 of the prototypes scored exceptionally well and tied, right? But when we looked at the emotions of these particular prototypes, they couldn't have been more different, right? So similar liking scores, they had similar purchase intent scores and other data. They're essentially at parity overall. But when we looked at the emotional piece, you saw that 560 was much more focused on calming, relaxing emotions for people, and 275 was much more focused on the energetic and exciting. And when you pair that up with the types of images they picked, as well as the types of cues that they talked about in those images, now you start to connect the dots in ways that you never had options to before. So you'll see things like on the 560 on the left-hand side here, people picked pictures like ropes, other types of darker, earthy related images. And we saw things like earth colors, grain flavors, chewy textures were conversations people talked about, long-lasting flavors. All of those cues connected in with delivering relaxing and calming emotions. Whereas for 275, this product had a lot of images that were much more bright, much more colorful, picked, and you can see there's energetic, excited emotions, and people talked about bright colors, red colors. They talked about the bumpiness of the fruit. They talked about bursting sensations. They talk about the high intensity of flavor of this particular product, all leading to a very different emotional profile. Both of these products, very well-liked products, but very different positioning. So why is this valuable? It's valuable because if your brand is much more of a brand that was designed around excitement, then you want to go with a prototype like that. If your brand was something designed more around a relaxing moment and you're going to try and put those products in those types of, say, snacking moments, then you want to move towards a prototype like that. It also gives you one more layer, which is information to the product developers to start understanding what types of cues signal what types of emotions. So you're starting to build that data bank of long-term knowledge within your organization as well. All right. So that's emotions. Now, before we go on, I'll just mention, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them into the questions section or the chat window. I'll try and answer them as I go here, or if you happen to have any right now, go ahead and type them in. And while people are doing that, I will be jumping on to the next section. So the next piece, next way to add some life to your study is through interviews, right? Most people have experimented with some type of hybridization, right? Adding interviews to the end of CLTs, maybe mini focus groups, doing something along the lines of home use test interviewing, bringing people back in for focus groups, adding both qual and quant to any piece of research. However, I think one thing we miss out on is the ability to really hand select the people we're talking to. And I remember probably one of the very first studies I was running, and this is before computerized questionnaires were even in existence. I was on site, CLT study, and we were picking people to interview as they came out of a study. And as people went in, look at them, we'd gauge them, we'd say, oh, that person looks interesting. They look like they might have something to say. And we would handpick as they came to sit into the CLT which ones we wanted to talk to on the back end. And I remember my colleague pointing to a person and saying, hey, I want to interview him because he looks like Kevin Costner. And after the session, I asked her, say, so you learn anything from Mr. Costner? And she said, well, she learned a lot about his dog, but nothing really useful about the products. And that was a really light bulb moment for me. It was very clear that we were picking people just because of their appearance, maybe even some randomness, or even their willingness to stay afterwards. We had no focus on picking people based on the very specific objectives of our research. So fast forward to today's technology, and we can watch people's responses in real time and read their comments in real time. So at Insights Now, we've got a tool we call Profiles Now. It's a nice piece of software that we use during the course of a study, and we get to pick what questions in the study we want to monitor in real time. And as we're watching the study go along, we're looking for very specific patterns. For instance, we go into the research saying, well, we want to pick people who love prototype A and hate prototype B. We want to pick people who have really rich comments about texture of the product. We want to pick somebody who's talking more specifically about how they would use this product at their home, right? All these types of options could be good ways or good options for you to hand select people. All comes back to the objectives of your research. So that really helps us pick just the right people to interview on the back end. And we go into those interviews knowing exactly what they said about the products, how they scored the products, and we can use that information to dig deeper into an understanding of why that happened. Okay. Now, I also see people not really using technology to its fullest extent today from the vantage point of they assume that if they're going to do interviews, they have to make a plane reservation, go on site, spend a lot of time there doing all sorts of deeper dives with people, maybe even hiring moderators to do it. But there's a lot of really easy ways to get this information as well. One is phone interviews, right? You can sit at your desk and just talk with, say, 3 to 5 people during the study just by watching them from your desk. You know, take the Profiles Now tool, handpick people, have the facility call when that person is ready. So you call them, say, hey, I want this person. They call you back with that person on the line. You take 10 minutes to deep dive with them on their comments, get that extra level of rich understanding and full, additional depth to why they wanted one product to work for them or why they didn't think one product would work for them very well. And if you want to extend that, you could add video chatting to that. So for instance, if you had maybe some packages you wanted to show somebody or a couple of images that you wanted to show somebody, or if you wanted them to actually demonstrate something for you, you can just throw that up via video chat. Again, it doesn't have to be this big extensive piece. It could be just 3 to 5 people, and you'll be amazed at how much richer your information gets as you go through the research. Another really easy way, if you don't have time to sit there and be in real time with the research, is that you could do online interviews. So you can pick people to then go to an online form software where you interview them asynchronously, right? This allows you to, like social media, to ask them a question, have them respond, have them do an activity, they can respond, etc., so forth. And this allows you to talk with them more long-term, allows you to gather other information from other people, bounce that off them maybe as a new idea, maybe discuss why these products will or will not be successful. Right. Another option is to have them videotape something, right? So you can get them to present a product to them that they tested in the CLT, take that product home, cook it for their family, and then videotape the reactions of their family members or friends. And if you really want to have a fun experience, if you have a family-oriented product, have a conference call with the entire family during their dinner while they're eating your product. And that's probably going to be one of the most fun phone calls you'll probably ever have from an execution standpoint. So if you want to amp up that execution excitement level, try connecting in with the entire family all at once on a phone call. Now, another example for doing homework or doing these online interviews is to send people out on specific missions. So if your research has a topic area that you're trying to study where the prototypes you want to test in a CLT environment, but you really want to get a better sense of how maybe these products could fit into real life, or if you want to study specific aspects of the products in real life, you can go and have them do a mission afterwards. So for instance, we had a study where we were looking at hot sauces. And hot sauces in a CLT allowed us to compare and contrast several prototypes and get a better understanding of it. In the exit interviews, we could get people that had specific opinions about the different types of levels of heat, levels of kick, styles of flavor profiles that people wanted, but we wanted a little bit more depth. We wanted to get a really good understanding of how these sauces would actually play or relate to other types of experiences they have in real life. So we took these people who we interviewed and we sent them on a mission to understand kick. Right? We had them specifically go out and diary for us on their smartphone each time they experienced some food with kick. We had them take a picture of the food. We had them title the moment. We had them give a description of the type of kick they experienced and their reason that they chose that specific food. For instance, here they rated kick. Oh, we had them rate the kick intensity too. They rated the kick as a 6 on a 10-point scale. And we found that this kick was actually about multiple elements, not just the one primary food. So there was kick in the ribs that they were eating, but there was also kick that came from other elements of the side dishes as well. And notice that the kick in this particular case really wasn't even coming from the primary driver of going after this food. Kick was like a supplemental value, whereas the craving of cornbread and sweet potato pie was actually the primary drivers. Now, taking this type of an approach to exit interviews, to very targeted interviews, remember now these are hand-selected people going out and doing these missions, we learned something that we never got from the CLT data nor from the exit interviews themselves. We did get some things restated, like, for instance, kick comes from peppers, and it's a flavor balance between heat and flavor. We learned a little bit more about vinegar, though. The vinegar is really all about zing, and that's a component of kick, but not really related to heat in any fashion. We also heard about a lot of kicks coming from different styles of sauces, that people didn't just want one sauce. They actually wanted to customize quite a bit. They would personalize the level and style of kick based on using multiple sauces and or different types of sauces for their to make their product just personal for them. We also learned that kick came a lot from side dishes rather than the main dish. And going into this research, we thought a lot about that sauces were really something like the ribs. They were the main dish. But what we saw was actually a lot of times the kick wasn't on the main dish. The kick was from the side dish. And then one thing that we learned completely only from these mission statements that we didn't learn anywhere else in any of our conversations was more information about aftertaste, that the fresh products, anything made with fresh tomatoes, fresh ingredients that's sold in the refrigerated section, any of those should not have a long aftertaste. Those needed to be quick removal from the mouth, whereas anything that was more of a marinated or a cooked-based sauce, those should have longer lingering aftertaste. We didn't learn that anywhere except when we did these targeted in-the-moment interviews. And we learned a few more things about taste buds and kick. For instance, we had it now understood how it connected to adventure, how it helped separate men from boys, how it was a source of pride, how it forced social interaction. I'm probably sure you've seen that in your own life where if something's really spicy, it has a lot of kick, it immediately causes people to talk, right? Because of the wonderful emotional reactions that go along with that. All right, the third way we can add a little bit more excitement and life to our CLTs and home use tests is with videos and pictures. Now, if you're running especially home use tests today and you're not asking people to snap a quick pic or take a quick 15-second video, you're missing out on a huge amount of really cool information about the contextual use of the product. Now, most people I talk to when I bring up videos and pictures and adding these to the research, they go down the overly detailed path, right? Thinking they need to document the entire process of using the product home or generate this massive collage within the report to document how they opened it, how they prepped it, how they served it, what they thought of it afterwards, et cetera, so forth. And while that can be done and it is useful in certain types of research, in a lot of home use tests, you really don't need that level of depth. You really just need a very, very simple ask, and you still get fabulous insights. So this is what I call the picture ask. It's take one picture that captures how you're using the product and explain that picture. Very simple. It's not overly prescriptive. What happens is that people get to decide for themselves what the most important thing is that they should take a picture of. And you find that they take a picture of things that you might not expect. So in a study we did on coffee, instant coffees, we asked them to take a picture, captures how you're using the product, explain the picture. As you would expect, we've got a huge number of pictures of, like the top one here, of people with the coffee in their coffee cup, sitting on their lap, having a me time moment. This was a sweet instant powdered coffee. And that was the bulk of the pictures. So nothing really surprising, although we got some creative pictures and some interesting settings. Not all the settings were in what I would consider a relaxing environment. Some people relax in some strange places. But what we got were two sets of other images that were really fascinating that helped our innovation process forward. The first was a few pictures of people using the instant coffee as a topping on desserts. Now, we had asked them in the research to, of course, make the coffee and drink the coffee and rate through the questionnaire all the different aspects of the coffee. We didn't ask them to put the product on any other thing like desserts. We didn't ask them to use it any other way, but we still got a few pictures like this. Why is that valuable? It opened up our eyes to other ways people use the product, and it helped start a new innovation thread around other uses of the product and other campaigns and other sides that you could put along with the picture of the coffee to help promote and sell it. The other thing we got a lot of pictures of was people's cupboards, which we didn't expect at all. But what we found when we dug into the interviews around why did they send us a picture of their cupboard was they said that this is the type of product that if they don't have it front and center, that they forget about it, right? It's not like their morning routine coffee where they're getting up, they're having this every single morning. This is more of a relaxing dessert type beverage, me time beverage. And if they didn't put it somewhere obvious for themselves, then they would forget about it. So we found that understanding how this product needed to live within the house was also very, very valuable. So it helped enhance our research process. The same thing can happen with video. If asking for in 30 seconds or less, show me your experience with this product as a very simple ask, not asking them to detail how did you prep it, how did you do this, how did, just say in 30 seconds, show me your experience. You're going to get some wonderfully detailed video around what they thought was the most important part of the experience. And it might not be the most important part of what you thought the experience was. So just make the video simple. The other thing that's really important about this is that you don't want to ask everybody to do everything. So we had a study that was 400 people here And if we had asked all 400 people to do a 30-second video and evaluate all 4 packages that we had the product shipped in, we would have had over 13 hours of video. That would have been an absolutely enormous task to watch and try and condense that video, to try and make that video useful, even to find the good clips in that. I think I would have fallen asleep. Instead, if we just say, ask 10 people or to do a 30-second video that compares the packages, you get 5 minutes of video. If you double that, have 20 people do 30-second videos, you get 10 minutes of video. Now, this amount of video is still going to be really rich. You're still going to learn a lot of information. It's very quick. It's not expensive to add because you don't have to sit there and watch days worth of video. Rather, you can watch a short period of video, grab the pieces that really are impactful, add them to your research report, and bring your report now to life and excite your audience as well. So you get new learning, new information, and not a large amount of additional effort. And frankly, I think it makes your research a whole lot more fun. So those are the 3 ways that are easy add-ons to amplify your next CLT or home use test. So leveraging emotions, you can use this simple add-on with any research where you know what emotions you want from the product, or when you have to find out what emotions are going to tie the product, the package, and the messaging together. Targeting interviewing gives you deeper empathy for your consumers, and you can use that when you want to drill down into specific questions about the product, or when you have a question you can't really answer without fully being in context, right? That allows you to give people the opportunity to interview them in context, either online or via the phone. But make sure you're not just interviewing people randomly. Make sure that you are using software like Profiles now to drill down and find just the right specific people to interview. Otherwise, you're going to spend a lot of time interviewing people that have no value, and you'll be wasting your time. And finally, videos and pictures. They can be used whenever you're having people work with the product, right? Anytime they're actually touching it, playing with it, etc., so forth, or they're using it in context in some way. And that's going to help you know if they're using the product the way you expect them to use it. And it's also going to get you those really candid clips to make your reporting more exciting. So it doesn't matter what part of the research you personally found most exciting. If it's planning like me, deciding to put this research in, or this little easy add-on in, or this add-on in. If it's execution, you should be loving all these real-time elements, the ability to handpick people, make that discovery process more fun. If it's analysis and insights, then all these approaches are going to give you new information to incorporate. If it's about reporting, if that's your favorite part, the ability to use graphics and stories and videos to make your reports really pop for your audience, that's going to improve their overall enjoyment of the reports as well. So those are our 3 easy add-ons for today. Looking forward to your questions, and I've got a few already in. Let me see what we've got here. So the first one I see, first question is, do you get the same emotion results if you don't use the pictures? That's a really good question. The answer is no, we don't. So you may get very similar profiles, i.e. in our example, we probably would have seen that the exciting, energetic product 275, we would have seen that that probably was a little bit more exciting and energetic, and the other one was a little bit more relaxing if we just asked the check all that apply question by itself, but we would not have seen the large gap in information. So the quantity, for instance, in check all that apply, the number of people checking any given emotion goes way, way up if you use pictures versus if you don't use the pictures. So you get certainly, I think, bigger spreads and bigger differences between products when you add the pictures. Okay. An additional value, I pointed it out earlier, of using the pictures versus not using the pictures is when you just ask the check all apply emotions questions or even a scale question, you don't get to cues, right? You don't know what's causing those emotions. You have to guess. So getting the pictures and having them do the descriptive work gets you to connect what cues and what aspects of the products are actually creating that emotional reaction. And that, I think, is a major, major difference between just asking the emotions questions by themselves. Next question. What do you think about using faces for rating emotions? Aha, yes. Faces, caricatures, they're fairly similar. Instead of doing like a check all that apply, faces and caricatures, they simplify your emotions often a little bit. It forces a person to self-associate with whatever that image is. As long as you're using that within the context of bringing people into pictures, I don't see why it wouldn't work. I haven't tried it there. Using them just by themselves on their own, unless the product you're talking about like a brand that people know and love or a concept where you have full branding, then I haven't found that those give me very good differentiation. So when I tried the picture faces in blind CLTs, blind prototype oriented huts, I got no differentiation between product except on negative emotions. So I haven't found them in and of themselves in a blind setting useful, but connecting them with maybe the picture exercise, which we have never done before, maybe that could be useful. I do like the kata and scale-based questions because it allows you to get more depth to those emotions, more nuances. I think anything you can do to get more discrete is a good thing. Okay, another question. How might these add-ons help with global research studies? Now that's a really good one as well. So in global research, a lot of times what you learn in global research is that there are not just differences maybe in the preferences around the products, but you have differences in how to connect and talk to people. So the interviewing techniques that you would have afterwards would allow you to better understand why people are relating, right? What people really connect with in terms of the context of or setting of use or how they use the product with that those particular prototypes. You also likely are going to find that there are different cues of emotions. So one of the things we have found in terms of emotions-based work is that we do know that while a emotion may be very similar, like the product may same product may cue excitement and energy and relaxing in two different cultures, the cues that actually drive that are most important for driving that, may be very different. And vice versa, you might find that the same attributes could cue very different emotions. That's also certainly very possible. Okay, let's see. Got another question here. What else? I see some people typing in, but I don't see any more questions coming up yet. How are the pictures selected? That's a great question. So we specifically curated these pictures from the vantage point of design thinking. So think about if you're a sensory person, if you think about sensory descriptive panels and experimental design, you want something that covers the entire space. So what we did is we went out and we looked at what is the design space. We want pictures that have round edges, sharp corners. We want different hue, value, chroma, all the different things when you think about graphic design and all the layers of graphic design. We created that as our experimental space. And then we went out looking for images that denoted that particular space. Right, so now we know we have an entire list of images, a huge database of images that cover the visual space, the contextual space, or the design space. Then for a specific piece of research, we're going to curate that list of images down, taking out anything that's going to be too rational or too obvious as a picture. We want people to use metaphors to describe their memories and emotions rather than something obvious. So if we are testing a dish that has eggs in it, we're going to take out pictures of chickens. We're going to take out pictures of eggs. If we were testing salads, we're going to be taking out pictures of any leaf that looks like it's obviously something that would go into a salad, or a flower that would go into a salad. If we were comparing and contrasting, say, two different cultures of food, so like a Chinese versus a Mongolian, if we had images that were very obvious, oh, that's a monument in China, we would pull that out. Anything that's too obvious and too rational, you pull those out. It forces them then to use metaphors to describe their experience. All right, well, that's all the questions we have. I don't see any more being typed in at the moment. Thank you very much for your time today. I hope you enjoyed this webinar. I hope that you get an opportunity to use these quick and easy add-ons in your next CLT or home use test. And certainly, anytime you have questions, concerns, you just want to bounce an idea off us, if you want to see if something might help you on a research, or if you're just curious about how to actually tactically do something in research, give me a call, drop me a line. You got my phone number and email right there. We're always available to talk with you here at Insights Now. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.